Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm saying, no.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, no.
This has got your name.
They don't even know.
We use it as a shield against my throat, to be honest. I feel like I'm short today. Oh, there we go. Yeah. No, I texted back. I said the vet euthanized them. Said that they had somebody had used tools on them, cutters or something like that. Yeah, because we thought of that at first too. Was sometimes puppies do that, or the mothers do that, but no. They weren't gnawed off. They were.
You mean during the regular agenda? I don't know. He's asking.
Welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the El Centro City Council for Tuesday, March 17th. I wonder if it's possible for someone that can ask the people outside that has the music, if they can lower the music so that way people outside can hear the our meeting. Thank you, Mr.
The proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Nan. Okay, first item on the agenda is the call to order. City Clerk? Diane?
Okay. Councilmember Sanders?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Here.
Mayor Silva?
Present?
Councilmember Villegas Walker?
Here.
And Councilmember Cardenas?
Here.
Thank you. We'll have Mr. Cardenas lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and Ms. Walker lead us in the invocation, please.
Guys, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
Please remain standing and bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you at this time of a meeting of the El Centro City Council. We are seeking your guidance, your wisdom, your compassion. May we come together as a community to seek out your will, your guidance, the solutions to our community issues and our problems. Please take this nation in your hands. Help us to heal. Help us to support one another. Be courteous, professional. Help us to always, always, always live lives of gratitude, ever thankful for the many blessings that you bestow upon us. Help us to come together in these challenging times, to rise together, to come together as a community, to strengthen one another, to uplift one another. All these things we ask in thy precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Walker, for that beautiful invocation. Okay, next item on the agenda is the report from our city attorney on closed session that took earlier today. Ms.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On a motion by Councilmember Villegas Walker, second by Councilmember Cardenas, the City Council met in closed session at 11:31 a.m. All council members were present. The anticipated litigation item was misidentified on the agenda, so no discussion of the item was had. At the close of tonight's open session, it is anticipated that the mayor will call for a motion to schedule an adjourned regular meeting for Monday, March 23rd, 2015 at 11 a.m. For the anticipated litigation item. Council met with its labor relations negotiator, Terry Brownlee, Human Resources Director, concerning labor matters. There is no action to report, but on a motion by Councilmember Villegas Walker, second by Councilmember Jackson, direction was given to staff, and the motion passed unanimously. Closed session concluded at 12:04 p.m., and that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Becker. So again, let me just reiterate what Ms. Becker's just said. Yes, can we ask everyone to please either put your phones on vibrate or silence them for us, please? Let me just reiterate what Ms. Becker just said. There are plans still for the council to have a discussion in closed session, as it was reported last week, for the council to consider the retention of an attorney that would provide the council an independent legal opinion on the issue that's of interest to all of you in terms of Planned Parenthood and specifically the transfer agreement. Due to a technicality on the agenda in the way it was posted, we were not able to have that discussion at noon today. That matter will be corrected. The agenda will be reposted. By law, we are required to provide public notice of at least 72 hours. The 72 hours will take us to Friday. However, Friday, some of us are not able to be here, so the soonest that we can reconvene the meeting, that special closed session item would be Monday. So this meeting will be adjourned to come back at Monday at noon so that we can have 11 o'clock in the morning, so we can have closed session item, so we can have that discussion within the parameters of the law as we are obligated to do. So again, given a technical error on the agenda, we were not at liberty to have that discussion today, but we will be at liberty to have that discussion come next Monday. Okay, we have introduction of our new police officer. I'm going to call Chief Madueño.
Honorable Mayor, council members, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our newest police officer, Lisa Diaz. She was hired last Monday, March 9th. Lisa was born and raised in Calexico, graduated from Calexico Union High School, and I know it gives our mayor great pleasure. She graduated from Imperial Valley College with an associate's degree in criminal justice. She's attended San Diego State. Lisa has her post certificate, so tomorrow she officially starts her field training program with one of our officers. So within about 15, 16 weeks, she'll hit the streets as a solo officer. So introduce Lisa Diaz.
Thank you. So Lisa, the chief did a good job in introducing you to us, but give us a little more.
I'm just very happy to be here, and I'm very proud to be serving the city of El Centro. Looking forward to a new start, a new career with this great city, and looking forward to serving the community and serving it with great pride.
Yeah. Well, I know that I speak for the council that when we get new officers introduced to us, it's particularly joyful that they are local residents of Imperial Valley, not just El Centro, and an IVC alumni, that's even better. So I'm very happy for you. Welcome to the city of El Centro, and I know that you are entering a great department under great leadership, and so we welcome you on behalf of the council. But comments from the council?
I want to also welcome you as well, and Chief, you're building quite an A-team, and really proud of our first responders, and I'm just grateful you're joining our team. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always feel a special affinity to police officers. My dad was a police officer in Seattle, and I know the sacrifices that your family will make when they celebrate Christmas on the 23rd of December, or the holidays and everything. So I just want to thank you for choosing a career that's going to make such an impact and contribution to the community.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to El Centro, and I think it's great that it seems like a lot of our hires lately, both on our police and fire, have been local hires, and that's always good to see, and we hope you have a long, safe, and lasting career with the city of El Centro.
Thank you. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lisa, congratulations, and welcome to what we categorize as one of the finest police department in this valley, and by that, also in the state. So you're among the finest. Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We have a number of scheduled public comments, and plus one that I'm going to add that did not get on the agenda, but I'm going to, last week we would have heard the report from the El Centro Chamber of Commerce, but I was asked to postpone that to this week, and so we're going to allow for that during our scheduled public comments as opposed to a regular public comment. So let's follow the order of the agenda, and we have a presentation from AT&T, mobility presentation. Is Christine here or somebody from AT&T? Over there, I see a hand.
I wasn't sure I'd be able to get in.
Hi, Christine.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to bring an update to you. I want to keep this short out of respect for everyone's time tonight. I see you have a full house, so I will give an update on the lighting project, which we discussed. I think we initiated that discussion in October of 2013. So first of all, I want to express my appreciation for the city staff that has worked with us on this lighting project. We brought forward an idea to prepare some mitigation for our proposed cell site upgrade at 763 State Street. And at the time, we discussed a number of options contained in a letter in October of 2013, including hardscape improvements, landscape, a lighting project, things like that. After discussions with the city and with the council, we settled on exploring a lighting project. We initially made an offer for mitigation for a lighting project, and we went out to 3 firms in the valley. 2 of them responded, and they came in at more than $300,000 over budget on that lighting project. So I'm here tonight to see if we can work with you on exploring either different aspects of a lighting project, maybe reducing the scope of the streets that are covered by that, or just get some input from council members and the mayor on some ideas on how we might mitigate that project to bring it down to that reasonable cost. And we stand firm in our offer of that $250,000 towards mitigation. That has not changed. We can explore some hardscape, some landscape. I believe last time it was directed to city staff to work with us on that. They have been fantastic. We would like to continue to work with them to find a project that fits the budget and bring it back to you for your review. But tonight I'm just here to give you an update and see what direction you would like to take.
Okay. So the overall bid came in at 550, and
Yes.
you have budgeted 250?
We had budgeted 250, and actually, if it's helpful for you, I have the original proposed scope that we explored. I'd be happy to approach the
I'm
dais.
just wondering if in the interest of time, because in dog years, this has taken like 12 already. I mean, and you know that we've waited a really, really, really long time for ATT to step up and take responsibility for the upgrades of that area. I'm going to ask that the mayor look to put together a task force to work with city staff, to work with AT&T to come up with a fixed timeline for these improvements, for a final plan on what we will accept and what we would ask AT&T to step up and take ownership of.
Yes.
With regard to a final solution for that area. So my request, Mr. Mayor, is that we consider it appointing a task force, and I would very much like to be a member of that task force.
And Councilmember Walker, if I may respond, we are ready to upgrade that cell site. This particular delay is on the significant cost overrun on the lighting project. And again, I'm happy to leave this with you for your review. Your staff also has a copy of this. This is the proposed lighting project. You could take a look at this and see if there's some way that we could reduce the scope, or go back and look at some hardscaping or landscaping or other types of beautification in the downtown core that are in compliance with project shape.
And I think we'd agree that it would take a significant amount of time for us to review all of the significant delays. So in the interest of time, why don't we?
Well, and I think the best project that we can do for downtown will be the lighting project. That
Absolutely,
takes-
without a doubt.
That would be something that would benefit our community for
Yes.
years to come.
We
So
are happy-
perhaps
yes.
there's opportunities to get other funding, and so we'll have to get our city manager involved.
Yes.
To me, as a finance department, to see if there's some way that we can come up with a full budget. But that, to me, that's the ideal mitigation, is to increase the visibility and the lighting downtown. So
Yes.
I agree with Ms. Walker, but before I do that, let me see if there's comments from other people. Mr. Jackson?
Excuse me. Yeah, I think that when we've talked about this for a number of years, but I do believe that the level of change for our downtown that we could benefit from a lighting project is much more significant than hardscape or landscape type projects. I would look to, we've got some great people within our staff that can maybe help fill in that gap with maybe some additional funding, maybe another grant. I know we've got a grant for the Main Street corridor, which is what we were kind of trying to tie this to. So, Deborah, maybe you can find us some more money or something. But, I definitely would like to stay on track with the lighting program because I think it's one of those things that has to be done, no matter if we pay for it AT&T pays for it, somebody's gonna have to pay for it. It needs to get done for the city of El Centro. So if the 250,000 is what the number is that AT&T can contribute to that project, then we as a city just need to figure out some ways to be creative and find the funding for the rest of that project.
Yes, we are happy to reiterate our commitment of $250,000 towards this project. That has not wavered.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Ms. Sanders?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. I'm wondering if this particular, to piggyback on Ms. Walker's comments about a committee, would this go in line with your vision committee that you're anticipating putting together? And maybe they and Ms. Walker could work in harmony with that? Or do you want something over and above separate from?
One of the things I was thinking, Ms. Sanders, is because the Community Enhancement Committee has followed the AT&T project for the last several years, that perhaps the ideal candidates, because of our lead time on the, would be yourself.
The
and-
Community Enhancement Committee. Then I would concur with that. But I also have a question, if I may, to the presenter at this time. Christine, would you help me understand? I understood that you said, yes, there's a commitment on AT&T's part
Yes.
to follow through on that $250,000. However, it came in over budget by what amount?
Significantly. We
But
had,
did you give-
we reached out to 3 firms. We wanted to try to keep the work
300,000
local.
over?
Yeah, 3,000.
300,000 more or up to
Yes.
300?
In fact, I have the estimates here, and with your permission.
$500,000 is what you're saying.
At minimum. So the estimates that we have were the original estimates. One came in at 550 and the other one came in at 624. And we now believe that those might even be a little bit higher than that, given some changes that have been made to the lighting plan. So at this point, I think it would be fair to say that the minimum cost of the lighting project would be around $600,000. When we committed the $250,000, it was our hope that would be a significant chunk of this lighting project. We are not in the lighting business. When we reached out to those firms in the valley, 3 firms, 2 responded, and we have those 2 quotes tonight. The third one was not interested in the project.
Okay. Well, then, Mr. Mayor, I would be happy to concur with Ms. Walker as we look at it from our Community Enhancement Committee. Thank you.
Ms. Carden, any questions?
Thank you.
No, Mr. Mayor, again, I would support Ms. Walker's recommendation and actually would encourage her to be part of this project. And so again, I'm in agreement with all your guys' comments and would support that recommendation.
Thank you. I think that makes sense. So I'd like to appoint Ms. Walker and Ms. Sanders to work with staff and work with Christine Moore and try to come up with some way to either alternatives to the mitigation. Again, from my perspective, we should try to pursue the lighting mitigation as best as we can.
Thank you for that direction. And just for our clarification, so that would be staff and council working
Correct.
together to try to find either another source of funding to meet the gap on the lighting project? Or do you
Correct.
want to continue to try to make it from 4th to 8th? Is that the goal?
I think that ideally I'd like to pursue the full project, but
Okay,
again,
very good. Okay, thank you
the
so
little thing
much.
is money gets in the way, so
Right. Yeah, it always does.
thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next scheduled comment, public comment is from the Imperial County Film Commission.
Good evening. I am Charlotte Teeters with the Imperial County Film Commission. Thank you for having me here this evening. Getting over a bit of a thing here, so excuse me. You do have in front of you, should be 2 sheets, I do believe, a report, and then a casting
Yeah. so-
information.
yeah.
Okay, I'll be brief. The Imperial County Film Commission so far this fiscal year has tracked 39 different projects. Those 39 projects have resulted in an estimated economic impact of about $500,000. And that averages 4.8 productions per month. You can see the list that I provided, and it gives everything from photo shoots to music videos, student films, independent films, commercials, and other various projects. We've had magazines, we've had international projects that have come, and we continue to be, in a good way, inundated with filming. production over the past 2 years has seemed to pick up significantly, which is a wonderful problem to have. And I'm currently working with 6 new projects, which will be filming in the next month or so. 2 of those are major projects, and I would draw your attention to the casting sheet, which please feel free to share. We have a feature called Arms and the Dudes. Yes, it's a horrible title. I just don't know what else to say, but it is a Warner Brothers feature.
Is it a work
It's
in
not
progress
they're
title?
telling me it's not a working title. I keep telling them, no, really it is. But they will be shooting here in Imperial County in April. Actual prep starts this month. And there is an open casting on March 28th that will be held in the Imperial Valley Mall at the old Wet Seal, excuse me, near J.C. Penney's. They are looking for all types, but specifically men and women to portray military. Also, they need civilian background actors, so they're inviting everyone 18 to 55 to come out. It is a paid gig, so that's wonderful. And an opportunity to work on a real feature film. It stars Jonah Hill and Miles Teller. If you watch the Oscars, Miles Teller was in Whiplash, which I gotta just say, I got to see at Sundance when it premiered, and it was just fabulous. So I encourage you to see that. And so that's going to be very exciting. Lots going on in El Centro and around the county in the next month. We also have an independent feature. By independent, it is still a multi-million-dollar feature that will be filming in April, more mid to end. And it's going to be exciting. I won't say a whole lot about that, but it'll be good. Other things going on at the Film Commission. We are working on our 5th annual excuse me, film festival. It will be our 5th. It's very exciting. Film festival and artist showcase. So all of that information will be available very shortly. And hopefully we will have many entries like we have in the years past of local filmmakers and local artists. Another thing to know is the COLA Awards. I am on the COLA committee, California On Location Awards. We're working on that. It will be at the beginning of October at the Beverly Hilton, and we're going to celebrate filming in California, which hopefully again this year we nominated American Sniper. They won last year for Feature of the Year, so maybe I have another one in my pocket this year. That would be nice. The Flicks, Film Liaisons in California statewide. I am the vice chair of that. And this past year, we worked very feverishly on AB 1839. I know I've talked to you about that. You know what it is. Good news is that it passed, and in July, all of that will start rolling out. We're doing workshops and training with the California Film Commission, and working on getting that out smoothly, and I would love to see how that affects our production, even increasing it in the years to come. Other items, I think that's all the excitement that I have for you this evening. Unless you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I currently sit on the Film Commission, and I do want to say that Charlotte does a great job in terms of representing our community. She's actually well respected in the film community, and I'm grateful that we can support her with $2,500. I'm hoping that maybe that can be increased down the road, but I know that there's budget constraints with that. But she is a strong advocate of films, and I know Councilmember Jackson also sits on the commission. And again, this is a first-class act when it comes to her representing and dealing with some of these folks. Not only that, the film folks also are very appreciative of our public safety individuals, especially in our chiefs, both chiefs, our fire chief and our police chief. When
Very
they did
good experience.
Yeah, they speak very, very highly of them. So again, this is a great organization to support. I'm very grateful that Leticia has been able to carve out some budget for it, and I'm hopeful that, again, that can be increased down the road. I don't know if I'll be able to make the casting call because, but maybe next time.
And you know, and I have to say that I agree with Councilmember Cardenas. I think the investment of $2,500 gives us a very significant return on that investment based on the hotel stays and restaurants and all the economic benefit that we get from productions in El Centro particularly. So I agree with that. Ms. Walker?
I just wanted to congratulate you on another year of exceptional service and results.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I would say, you know, I've been on the committee for, I don't know, a few years now, and when Charlotte came on, we were a little bit behind, I think, and she's certainly spent a lot of time in developing relationships with Hollywood and with all the different companies that come down here. We have a lot of location managers that come down here a lot, and she's always running around and taking them to different locations and showing them different places to film. And we had a meeting, in fact, our last meeting, we had location manager drove down just for our meeting and spoke about, I think we asked her a question, why Imperial Valley? And her answer was because it's so easy to work here. And Charlotte's a big part of that, as well as a lot of our public safety and our public works with the county and the cities. And it's really an easy atmosphere for them to work, and she said it's not that way in a lot of other areas. So hopefully we'll maintain that, and we'll be able to foster some more relationships and bring some more dollars into the city of El Centro. So, thank you.
And it's kind of cool to see El Centro on the big screen.
It is.
I know when American Sniper,
It is.
being able to recognize the buildings and the surroundings is kind of cool.
And some of the people that are be coming down this year will be nice too. And I got to have lunch with Mr. Eastwood last year when he was down here for the American Sniper, and that was a very nice meeting with him, and presented him with a pin on behalf of the city of El Centro. And I'll tell you something about Mr. Eastwood, Clint Eastwood. He, a lot of guys you kind of give a pin to, and you're representing your city, and they accept it, they shake your hand, they throw it in their pocket. He made a point of sitting there while he was talking to me. He opened the pin and he put it on his lapel of his coat. And I think that just says a lot about who he is and what he represents, and he's just kind of, one of us. So it was a very nice meeting I had with him. So.
Very cool experience.
Yeah.
Ms. Anderson, any
Well, I just wanted to congratulate Charlotte, not only for the American Sniper, but certainly Three Kings, as well as Jarhead. All of those movies have been here and in this community, and I think it bodes well. I hope that we have individuals, based upon the comments you made, that would go out for the casting. I think that would be an
I'm sure they're
awesome
gonna be
idea,
inundated.
and certainly would, who knows, we might see them.
That's right. One last thing I forgot to mention, California Film Commission actually did release a newsletter this past week, and El Centro, the American Sniper building is now it's referred to, was featured as their featured location this year. So that went out to all location managers, LMGA, Directors Guild. So now they have a picture of the American Sniper building, where it is, and who to contact, which would be me.
Yeah, but I heard that they were going to tear it down.
Yes.
Can't.
They can't.
If anybody hears that in any truth, you need to let me know, because I need to buy it.
Maybe the city just needs to buy it, have it as
The
on
Film
location.
Commission needs a back lot, and that would be it.
That's a little jewel in El Centro. Okay.
Thank you for your
Charlotte. Thank you
time.
very much for the report.
Thank you.
Okay, update on El Centro Skate Park art component.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. As you may recall, part of the construction of the skate park, which you can see is under construction, an element of that project was to work with our local schools here in the city and provide a mosaic art project, and also work with the children to consider a name for the El Centro Skate Park. The city, working with its construction manager, which is Erickson Hall Construction, has been working also with the Rainforest Art Project. Mr. Evers has been taking the lead and working with the children to come up with potential designs for naming, along with some type of logo that identifies the skate park. And so Erica Ponte with Erickson Hall is going to be providing an update on where we are as far as that element of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcella. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Mr. Mayor. Erica Ponte, Erickson Hall Construction. We are the construction manager for the skate park. This is one of those, if I can be blunt, really cool experiences that you get to be a part of having in a construction project. The background on how this came about, the project is funded by Prop 84 grant funds. Incorporated into that grant fund was, or the grant was an element to have a community art project. As Marcella explained, that community art project is being realized with the partnership between the City of El Centro, the El Centro Elementary School District, and the Rainforest Project. We strongly believe, and I believe it was the intention of Anastasia Mickey who wrote it in there, is to have the children involved. Having them involved gives them a sense of pride and gives them a sense of ownership that even once the project is complete, they will still be a part of and want to see it maintained and treated with respect and fairly for all the kids to be able to enjoy. So we're going to walk you through the process of some of the things that have been going on. So right now we're working with the 6th grade students at Sunflower Elementary School. They have been working together with the Rainforest Project to come up with some creative ideas that are indicative to our area, that they're incorporating not only a design and a cool logo kind of thing with the skate park name. So these are some of the pictures of the students as they're brainstorming and presenting their ideas. The moment we explained what the project was and how they were going to be involved, their faces lit up and they just got incredibly excited, and it was a very positive experience to be a part of. Their ideas so far were presented to Dan Evers, who came, whittled down the ones that we could work with. We had a project team meeting. We reviewed those ideas and sent him back with direction on the ones that we saw that would fit best within the community and within the guidelines of the City of El Centro. Even to the point where Marcella had her hat on as far as logos and moving forward with events and how we could see this really being a part of the City of El Centro and its name state, because ultimately once this park is complete, it will go nationwide. It will become a destination point. So here's some of the fun little ideas that the kids came up with. As I stated, their creativity is amazing. Give them a chance and they can blow your mind. The plan is... What?
I was looking.
Oh, sorry. Too far, too fast.
Yeah.
These are some of the ideas that they came up with. So you can see that they're indicative of the region that we live in. Turtles, rattlesnakes, coyotes. There's a cool lizard there that has some kind of fluid movement being on a skateboard. Clearly, these are just the rough ideas. The students will be choosing their favorites and bringing forth their polished product to the council for final decision. Sorry, are you done looking?
Yeah,
sorry.
I wanted to enter the contest.
So the idea is that they're going to pick their top 3. Of those top 3, they are going to polish those to a complete presentation that will come before the council on May 5th. The students will be here, and they're going to tell you which one is their favorite, and then it'll be up to the council to decide which one they'd like to move forward with. Once we have that decision, it'll go into full production, then ultimately being installed at the skate park. I want to show you the areas in which we plan to install the mosaic. Here's just a rough outline of the park. This clearly isn't the full park. So what you're seeing before you, I don't know if this has a pointer like the other ones, but what you're seeing before you, the larger sketch, is the entryway. Those are going to be pavers that will come into an area that will have gates, because as you're all aware, the park will be locked and secured in the evening. At those gates, you'll see a detail off to the side are their entry columns. They're concrete entry columns, and the mosaics will be inserted inside those. I have a mock-up of those that you can see as well. So that'll be the first thing that you see when you come into the skate park. A constant reminder of the hard work and the dedication and the imagination that these children have put into this project. Here is a quick mock-up of what it will look like. Clearly, this design was done in the very initial stages as we were discussing this. So the colors, the name, and so on will be different. But it gives you an idea of what we're looking at as we walk in. Those are the entry columns right there. It's a quick sketch. What you see is front and back. There is a place in both the front part of the column and the back part of the column that will have this mosaic art placed in it. And any questions?
This is incredible. Thank you. Thank you for the update.
No problem.
Questions from Ms. Sanders? Questions?
No questions, Mr. Mayor. I'm quite impressed with the artistic talent that some of these young people have demonstrated.
Absolutely.
I look forward to when they bring in their favorite ones. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson?
I'm just a little worried that you're putting it on us to select. Some of those kids are going to go away unhappy.
Well, they'll bring their favorite one. and-
They'll bring their favorite.
Yeah. No, I think this is a great project, and it's certainly, it's really come together, and the project's really moving. I've been watching it as you guys are out there working on this project, and so I know a lot of kids have been waiting for this, so it's going to be a nice element in our parks and recreational facilities for the kids, not only in El Centro, but for the entire Imperial Valley.
Absolutely.
Can somebody remind me when the expected date of occupancy is?
Currently, the final completion date is set for September 3rd.
Thank you. Ms. Walker?
I just want to thank you for your diligence in seeing this project through to completion. And I know that when it finally gets completed, there's probably not going to be anyone happier than you to see it opened up.
Maybe Anastasia.
Again, just congratulations. Now, I would just have a small recommendation, Mayor, and I don't know if this stuff can be uploaded on our Facebook, you know, as far as, you know, the progress and the art contest. I think the community would appreciate that. I mean, I really enjoyed it today. I just don't know if we have those options where we can update it on our El Centro Facebook.
Or Parks and Recreation can add it as a component on our webpage.
Maybe.
Marcella has a copy of the PowerPoint, so if it's not pervy information, so if in the event that you want to post it, I'm sure the kids will be ecstatic.
That's a great idea. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Erica.
Thank you.
Let's proceed with the next scheduled public comment, the presentation from Chris Nunn on behalf of the Imperial Valley Coalition for Life and Deborah Ellett for Real Hope Center.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just by way of maybe just some clarification, these are two separate presentations. Are you aware of that?
I wasn't, but that's fine.
Real Hope Center represents, you know, the work that they do in the community, and it's separate. So just by way of full disclaimer. We're going to begin our presentation tonight. We've organized as the Imperial Valley Coalition for Life, and we're going to begin with Father Ed. He's here, and he's going to begin our presentation, and then we'll kind of walk you through a few steps. Okay, thank you. Appreciate being here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Thank you for hearing us out and for letting us speak 2 weeks ago. My name is Father Ed Horning. I'm pastor of St. Mary's Parish, and I'm the co-chair of the Pastors Committee for the Imperial Valley Coalition for Life. Just want to say that we're not hateful towards those who support abortion, nor towards Planned Parenthood. Our Imperial Valley Coalition for Life is joyful, peaceful, nonviolent, and I hope all of us are respectful at all times. But we simply cannot tolerate and will not tolerate abortion in our community because we are pro-life. We believe that life begins at conception. And our belief is not just biblical, but it's confirmed by science that a new human being has come to existence whenever sperm hits the egg, and there's a unique person with a genetic makeup. Science has proven as much, and I just wanted to present that to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Good evening, council members. Nicole Rothfleisch, Amaris Ministries, and representing the Coalition for Life. Thank you for having us again tonight. What the issue of abortion has done in our community is inspired the pro-life movement in our valley. We are not anti-women. We are not merely anti-abortion, but we are pro-life. We want a better way of life for our community. We want our cities to know and experience hope in the midst of life's challenges. We want our sisters and daughters to know they have a community of friends ready and willing to serve their physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. In order for our community to experience this hope, this Coalition for Life has mobilized and organized into numerous committees with the intent of spreading life and hope and grace into the lives of Valley residents. Some of these committees include sidewalk counseling so that we can have women there out. Should Planned Parenthood open, we would have people out there on the sidewalk ready to offer options for women who might be walking in that may feel they have no other option. We would offer, another committee, would be crisis pregnancy support, sponsorships for crisis pregnancy cases, post-abortive counseling and support, adoption and foster care facilitation, community outreach and education, a benevolence fund where we would actually fundraise to have money set aside to help with these situations with unplanned pregnancies, parenting classes, marriage counseling, and even addiction recovery. And this is because, sadly, through the many ministries that are part of the coalition, we have found that many women who have had abortions in the past sadly end up with substance abuse issues. So we want to be there to help them through that. As you can see, we have demonstrated that as a community, we are organized, mobilized, ready, and have already been for many, many years meeting the needs of women and children who find themselves in different circumstances, and men too, of course. The vision for all of this is to serve our community with compassion and understanding. We are not here to condemn, only to love. We are convinced that when women have hope, abortion will no longer be a choice they are willing to make or feel that they need to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what has really begun as a groundswell of opposition to abortion has become so much more here locally. We desire to be known more for the hope that we want to bring into our community than the abortion that we oppose. We are here to invite you as our council members, as those who sit in governance over this city, to be a part of this groundswell. There's still a place at the table for you, side by side with your community, if you'll only choose to take up the call to action. We understand that at the last council meeting, the council referenced multiple times a city code that was adopted in 1986, which effectively surrendered the governance of the hospital to an independent board of trustees that is appointed by this council. We understand that at the last council session that you gave direction, that you told us that you would take direction to find an independent, objective legal opinion as to whether or not you would be able to exercise authority over matters that had been decided by the ECRMC Board of Trustees. And for that, we're grateful. We are thankful that you've listened to us, that you've heard our concerns, and that you've taken some steps in the right direction in order to try to find out if there's a way that you yourselves can remedy this situation. We've heard tonight that there was a little bit of a delay. Ms. Becker gave us a report, and for that, I have to be honest, we're a little frustrated by, because you have to understand this is a very time-sensitive issue. And every day that we lose is a day closer to the abortion clinic opening and babies losing their lives. And so I'm pleading with you again to do what you can in order to look at this in a timely manner. I think that once the clinic opens, it's like a shot that will have been fired, and it will be very difficult to take that back. And so at this point, you're in a position where you can look at the financial risks and the medical risks that this facility would bring to our community, and you can at least put a pause on this. You can slow the progress down until those risk assessments are finalized, and you can actually look at this from a medical and a financial risk assessment standpoint to decide whether or not it's feasible for our community. So I wanted to share with you a little bit. A few days ago, Saturday morning actually, I read the code that you referenced that was written in 1986 for the first time, and I'm a little embarrassed by that because I've been so busy that I hadn't actually had an opportunity to take a look at it, but I read it in bed on Saturday morning. I mean, it took me about 10 minutes. It wasn't very difficult to do, but as I read the code, I was definitely encouraged by what I read, and I was a bit surprised by what I read, because of how firm you have been in your stance that you're unable to take action. And so I passed out a couple of handouts. Do you each have those handouts? There's some, it's like a reddish highlighting on there. If you would read along with me for a moment, I would appreciate it. This is from Chapter 13, Section 33, concerning the trustees' appointments. And the portion that's highlighted there says, notwithstanding anything herein to the contrary, The presence and/or the participation of any council persons at meetings of the board or its committees shall not be, and this is what's important here, shall not be interpreted in any way binding the city council to take or refrain from taking action relating to the municipal hospital. So as I read this, it sounds like it's giving permission for the city council to intervene in areas of governance oversight. Would you differ? I would be happy to listen, Ms. Walker.
Well, I haven't had as much time to review this, but I think that my cursory reading of this with 10 seconds prep time.
Sure, yeah.
Would say
like
that.
I said, I read it 10 minutes in bed.
Right. So would say in my mind,
Sure.
because we have or can have up to 2 members of the city council sit on the board of trustees.
Mm-hmm.
The way I read this, it means whatever action is taken that may include their participation as members of that board of trustees is not binding on this city council.
Okay.
If that issue were to come to us.
Okay.
And let's take, for example, Pastor Nunn, when you were here and we
Sure.
had the municipal bonding discussion, if Mr. Silva and Ms. Sanders had voted one way at the hospital and said, we don't want to move forward with the bonding, that wouldn't tie their hands here
Okay.
to vote in a different way. That's how I would read
Okay.
it, just very cursory, but I would defer
Yeah,
to,
and
to
I would
a more
just ask that you
holistic
would
review.
I would ask that you would at least look
Right.
it over. I mean,
Right.
I'm a layperson. I don't have a law degree.
Me
I didn't
too.
even finish and didn't even graduate from IVC. I'm sorry, it didn't happen.
There's still
I didn't
time.
make it. I
There's
didn't make
still
it.
time.
So
Absolutely.
the next page, section 1367. At the very least, then, if that is stricken and that isn't possible, this reads, and you can read this with me, and it kind of picks it up. It's a really long sentence, so we can pick it up here. So shall all remain unchanged as they existed. This is speaking about the way the hospital was run. Shall remain as they existed immediately prior to the January 2nd, 1986, with the exception that the board shall be the governing body of the hospital from the effective date of this article. And here's the key: unless the city council by ordinance subsequent thereto specifically amends, repeals, or modifies the provisions of this article. So there is an allowance there at the very least for the city council to make an amendment to this code in order to remedy the situation before us this evening, okay? The second part is
Can
ordinance. Yeah, absolutely.
And I know
Absolutely.
you're not an attorney, nor do you play one on TV.
I
Is
don't,
that-
I don't.
So are you interpreting this to say that we would have the authority? just
That
so
you
I-
could-
I wa-
That you could change the code, that you could write a new code superseding this.
I think he's suggesting, if I may, Ms. Walker, he's suggesting that we could amend this ordinance that would then allow us to take a different step or process for action. And I think that's what you're suggesting,
Exactly,
Mr. Nunn.
exactly. From the way the code is written.
Okay, let me ask our city attorney to kind of chime in, Ms. Baker, and your interpretation of where we are today and perhaps where we could go in reference to that section that Mr. Nunn referenced.
In 1986, the council delegated governance responsibilities to the Board of Trustees, effective January 2, 1986. Pursuant, and that's City Code Section 13-32. But in Section 13-67, the council did retain the ability to modify that governance setup if it so chose.
And that's what I'm pointing out. That's what
But you
I'm
mean
taking into
holistically, not just
Yes.
with regard to a single item?
Yes, exactly. If you wanted to, you could change the way that the hospital is run, and even if you wanted to, you could take over the hospital and the
Yes.
management of the hospital.
Oh.
And that's what the second item is here. This is the repeal and then the reestablishment of the hospital board as it was written in 1986. I believe this is what became 13. I'm not sure, but I have a few things highlighted here. You can see it says, whereas the city council recognizes that because the hospital is an agency of the city of El Centro, ultimate responsibility for the operation of the hospital rests with the city of El Centro through the city council. And so the way this was written back in 1986, it basically states that at the time when this was passed, they understood that the ultimate responsibility for the city-owned hospital rested in the hands of the city council. It goes on and it says, whereas the majority of the years of existence For the majority of the years of existence, the hospital has been governed by a board of trustees appointed by the City Council pursuant to Article 7, commencing with Government Section 37600. However, on 2 occasions during the last 10 years, the City Council has taken over active governance of the hospital. So there is precedence for this taking place, for this happening in our not that distant past. I was born in the 80s. It was not that far, not that long ago. And then it follows it up and it says, whereas most recently by Ordinance 8235, adopted on December 15th, 1982, the City Council repealed the Board of Trustees form of government at the hospital, and since that time has been the governing body of this hospital. So from 1982 to roughly the beginning of 1986, the hospital's governance was taken over by, at that time, the City Council. And so there is a precedence for that. Then the next page, it says, this is for the reestablishment, whereas the City Council finds that it is now the best interest of the City of El Centro and the hospital for the council to provide for the creation of a Board of Trustees form of hospital governance in a manner which contains sufficient safeguards to avoid the reoccurrence or the recurrence of unwarranted financial difficulties at the hospital. And so again, one of the main points that we've been trying to present to you is that there hasn't been proper financial risk assessment done. And so I would maybe suggest before this council that I think that there were some fiduciary duties that the hospital board failed in making sure that the risk was worth taking. And we very well could be setting ourselves up for another issue like this where financially it just isn't sustainable to allow this agreement to go forward. So finally, the last piece of paper here, or the second to last, there's some highlights here. And this is basically reiterating what we just shared that Ms. Becker read from, I think it was 67, is that correct, 1367? It says, with the exception that the board shall be the governing body of the hospital from the effective date of this ordinance, unless the city council by ordinance subsequent thereto specifically amends, repeals, or modifies the provisions of this article. And so tonight, my purpose for bringing this to your attention is just to show you, and I understand you're wanting to get an independent, objective legal opinion, but I feel like there is a way written within the law that you can take action, and maybe you don't even need to invest the additional resources and time to get that done. There is a way that you can intervene. And so, actually there's 2 ways that you can intervene. Well, depending on Mrs. Walker, whether or not that first section pans out, but you can choose to interject in areas concerning board's decisions if that first section is correct, and you're going to research that. Secondly, you can choose to rewrite or overwrite this ordinance and supersede what was passed in 1986. And so my challenge is not whether or not you are able to take action, but whether or not you'd be willing to take action on behalf of your community. At this time, Pat Harris is going to come forward, and he has a couple of issues he'd like to address before the board as well, and then I'll come up and kind of sum everything up in just a moment.
Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council, I want to thank you for the opportunity that you've afforded us today. Let me get my paperwork out here. I want to thank you for graciously allowing us to exercise our freedom of speech in this chamber tonight, and we truly are thankful for that. My name is Patrick Harris. Tonight I speak to you as an elected official and a public servant. As president of the board of directors of the Sealy County Water District, and also as an appointed member of the Imperial County Community Benefit Advisory Board, I have great empathy and concern for the delicate position you find yourselves in this situation. Like you, because of my office, I'm continually dealing with issues that involve the California Brown Act and the California Records Act. Therefore, the Imperial Valley Coalition for Life has asked me to represent them tonight regarding many serious political and legal issues. And I am not a lawyer, neither do I play one on TV either. First, I'd like to state the philosophical foundation for our stance to end abortion. In the preamble of the Declaration of Independence, it states, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, all mankind are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among them are life." Life for the unborn is an unalienable right given by the Almighty. So we seek tonight to address the sure and certain grievances of the unborn, to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, to restore unto them the right to life they are being alienated from. Within the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson wrote a list of legal grievances about the government of England as represented by King George III. Grievances documented the abuse of the royal government, which in the minds of the founding fathers made that government illegitimate to rule over them. In 1953, to protect the citizens of California from abuse, oppressive, and secretive local governments, the legislature instituted the Ralph M. Brown Act. This enacted a very strict code of transparency and accountability upon County Board of Supervisors, city councils, special districts, and substitutionary boards like the Board of Trustees of the El Centro Regional Medical Center. Furthermore, the legislature, in its wisdom, enacted the California Records Act to ensure easy public access to public documents such as contracts, emails, memos, letters to and from public agencies, and the like. These documents are to be open and accessible to anyone in the public who requests them. In both these measures, the Brown Act and the California Records Act, the purpose is to facilitate public participation in local government decisions and to curb the misuse of the democratic process by secret legislation. Therefore, like Thomas Jefferson, we submit our list of legal grievances. First, we allege that the hospital is suppressing documents illegally in violation of the California Records Act. We submitted a list of many, many items to the trustees and the board, items that had to do not just with their closed session, where they had a 3-3 tie vote, 1 abstention, and yet somehow the measure was still approved to be signed. We asked for legal documents that are open to the public that they saw in that meeting. Just because it was a lawyer was there to give them advice, that didn't mean that every document in that meeting is subject to the not subject to the California Records Act or exempt. What we got back was an entire list of every single item we asked for was denied except the transfer agreement itself. At this time, we are looking into the matter and we are investigating to determine our legal response for the hospital trustee board not fulfilling the law. Second, as seen in the official letter sent to the hospital board of trustees and copied to the El Centro City Council dated yesterday, and you should have a copy of that. In summary, the Imperial Valley Coalition for Life declares that the Board of Trustees of the El Centro Regional Medical Center has multiple violations of the Ralph M. Brown Act during its meeting conducted on February 24th, 2015. We believe that there are 3 specific violations of the Brown Act and 2 more possible violations of the Brown Act. Specifically, the Brown Act forbids voting on a policy decision in a closed session under the headline of, quote, potential litigation. You cannot use the Brown Act to vote on a policy issue in potential litigation because potential litigation can only be used for attorney advice if there is not an actual legal court case pending. To use this nomenclature to then have an ad hoc vote or poll would be a violation of the Brown Act. And in the AG Attorney General's handbook on the Brown Act, they actually call this action subterfuge. The second violation, the board did not properly declare its intent to vote on a policy issue in the agenda in open session with 72 hours advance notice at this regular meeting or with 24 hours advance notice for a special meeting. All the agenda said was potential litigation. In order to be with the Brown Act, in order for the Brown Act to be instituted properly, there would have to be sufficient language in the document to give the average person, like me or like anybody else here, enough information to know exactly what they're voting on so that they can make a reasonable decision whether they want to participate in the democratic process. Third violation. If the Board of Trustees maintain their claim they did not vote on the issue on February 24th, but, quote, only polled the trustees, then they're in violation of the Brown Act for conducting an illegal serial meeting. All deliberation for policy issues must be conducted in an open session for public review. If the board got together without sufficient documentation and polled everybody about what they wanted to do, that's an illegal serial meeting and also a violation of the Brown Act. Item 4, if anyone not authorized by law was invited to stay in the closed session, anybody who was invited, maybe a participant from Planned Parenthood, maybe another person who didn't belong in the meeting. The Brown Act is very specific about exactly who can be in a closed session. Then there's the potential that the hospital trustee board operated with something called a semi-closed session, which is also an illegal action according to the laws of California. Finally, number 5. If the transfer agreement is considered a contract, all contracts must be debated and ratified in open session because they are not exempt in the Brown Act to be in closed session. These exceptions have been construed narrowly by the courts. Thus, if a specific statutory exemption authorized a closed session cannot be found, the matter must be conducted in public regardless of its sensitivity. And we understand this is a very sensitive issue, but that does not give the hospital trustee board the authority to do this in secret. Because the hospital trustee board has violated the Brown Act, the Imperial Valley Coalition for Life exercises its right and privilege under the law to demand that all actions in closed session on February 24th, 2015, together with the signing of the Planned Parenthood transfer agreement, be cured. In other words, in accordance with the laws of the state of California, we demand, and that's a legal term, we can demand, that the transfer agreement be declared null and void. We further demand that all deliberations in the future over this contract be deliberated in open session as required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Honorable City Council, it may be of interest to you that according to the bylaws of the Hospital Trustee Board, no one can sign or execute a contract unless the board grants them the right by specific resolution. We are investigating whether the CEO of the hospital has ever been given that authority. Furthermore, all contracts must be executed by the president of the board and have the seal of the city of El Centro put on it to be considered unchallengeable. Since the transfer agreement has not been executed by the president of the board and no city seal is evident on the document, we therefore challenge its legality. Since the seal of the city must be on the transfer agreement, and since the hospital is a department of the city, and since El Centro City Council is responsible to ensure that all its agencies comply with the Brown Act, it is evident that the City Council has the authority to countermand this action. We implore the City Council, for the sake of government honesty and integrity, to use your legitimate legal authority given to you by the city codes to kill this transfer agreement. It is not only the integrity of the hospital board of trustees at stake, your integrity is at stake. Let it be known, the Imperial Valley Coalition for Life is dedicated to honest government as we are to saving the unborn.
Hallelujah.
As you have heard tonight, we're not trying to come here to intimidate, but we do want honest government. And if the law has been broken, we want it rectified.
Hallelujah.
And we want to work with you. We want to work with you. But do not doubt our resolve. We will use every legitimate, peaceful, political, and legal means to save the unborn. And there is one little clause at the end of the Declaration of Independence that I would like to say in closing. To this we pledge our sacred honor.
Hi, I'd just like to clarify something from the discussion earlier between Ms. Walker and Mr. Nunn. I don't think he gave himself enough credit. And on that first page with the red highlighting that you guys discussed, if you could take a look at that, I would just like to clarify something. Okay. So on the last line, it says, basically what takes place in those meetings should not in any way binding the city council to take or refrain from taking action relating to the municipal hospital. So the way I see that is just because one of your city council members is in there taking a vote, whether they change their mind, whatever, like you clarified, it doesn't bind you to taking action or refraining from taking action on that, which means you, as a city council, can take action on the item related to the municipal hospital.
As it comes before us during a city council meeting.
Correct.
Right,
Which
is what I said.
Right, which we have asked you to bring to the agenda to the city council meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that. I don't think it was clear earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nunn?
Thank you. So, if I may speak personally just for a moment as we close, I hope that you understand that we and I know myself, I don't enjoy coming in to have to do this, in front of you. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your service to the city. I believe that you wholeheartedly serve because you want to see El Centro a better place to live. And if my time with you over the last couple of months has kind of enlightened me on anything, it's that you deserve a lot more than $800 a month that you guys take home, because that is not worth the amount of effort that you put into this. I believe you really all do serve for the sake of serving. There aren't any strings attached to it. My question tonight is, have you been listening to the ones that you were elected to serve? Because here we are. And these crowds that have gathered over the past couple of months, they're from different racial backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, some with no religious preference at all. Yet here we've been week after week pleading for you to take action, to find a way to intervene and to nullify this transfer agreement. When we first began, it was to keep it from being signed, and now it's already been signed, and now we're saying, please find a way. We've been here with one unified voice spread up across all these different people, and I think it's an amazing thing to see. I have to believe that some part of you is touched to see your community rally together with a unified voice like this. So over the past couple of months, we've presented that in entering into the transfer agreement with Planned Parenthood, it would expose the city of El Centro to great financial risk and liability. We've explained the medical risks that our young women will be exposed to if surgical procedures are allowed without a doctor attending. We have presented that according to an excerpt of law from California's Health and Safety Code, that the hospital and the city do not have to legally enter into this transfer agreement. They have discretion to deny it. Planned Parenthood has admitted openly that the abortion services they provide account for only 3 to 5% of their business. If this is the case, why will they not compromise with our community by removing abortion from its list of services provided? We have shown that a denial of this transfer agreement would not shut down Planned Parenthood in our community. It would only prevent Planned Parenthood from opening and performing abortions. Planned Parenthood could still open and could provide low-cost health care to women who are in need here in our community. We're just asking for them to remove the abortion as a service provided. We've presented that in the event that the city is sued for lawfully denying the transfer agreement, pro bono legal counsel will be offered, and this is top-notch legal counsel. It would cost nothing for the city to do so. We have displayed how through a series of missteps, California law has been broken in allowing the transfer agreement to be signed in the first place. We have proven that in denying this transfer agreement, you have the support and the majority of your community. And finally, tonight, we have shown you directly from the El Centro City Code how you are indeed able to take action, and we feel that you should take action. You're obligated to take action on behalf of your community. My friends, there's a movement that is happening in the midst of this city. The train is just now leaving the station, and there is still time to hop aboard. As a matter of fact, there's still time for leadership on this train, and we are looking for government officials to lead us, and we want those people to be you. We really do. We were not unhappy with the way you were governing the city. We had no complaints. I think that the improvements that you have been able to bring to this city are to be commended. But in this area, this is probably the area that we are the most passionate. It is the area that we are most passionate about. And we want to protect our young women, and we want to protect the lives of the unborn. So please hear our hearts on this issue. We want you to be the ones to lead us. We aren't looking for someone else. We are looking to you because we have elected you. We want for you to remain our leaders. We want for you to maintain those seats. And all that we're asking that you do is to take action and get to the front of the train and lead us into where our community is going. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. And I'm going to take the privilege of making a few comments because I think I heard some things that were really important. I think that I said it before that this is not an easy issue for any of us. Yeah. And there's a lot of variables that we have to consider. For some people, it's really black and white, wrong, right. We have a responsibility to look beyond that and make sure that every action that we take is legal, defendable, that we represent the entire community. And that's the purpose for getting the independent legal opinion, to make sure that we understand the full scope of our abilities, the full scope of potential liability to the city, if any. And until those questions get answered, we're going to be in a better position to make a decision. So as far as I'm concerned, no decision has been made until we are able to get the full scope of where we are today.
Sure, and I can respect that. I just hope that you take seriously the time element that is involved here.
So I'll get to that. First of all, I need to say that I was so pleased, and it was so gratifying to me to hear Nicole Freshfield. I know Brashfield, sorry for that. My Spanish tongue gets in the way, I can't pronounce her name. Just like some people can't say Efrain, I can't say it, so I apologize for that. But, I mean, you said something incredibly important to me, that regardless of what happens here, that the services that you provide to women will continue. And I've been wanting to hear that for such a long time, not just from you, but from a lot of people that come here and have said that. And I hope that, in the event that this happens, that gets racked up and you provide more services, and someone opens a counseling service right next to Planned Parenthood, so you can try to counteract and prevent women from doing those surgical services. I hope that continues, and regardless of what happens here today, that was, for me, that was very gratifying to hear. From a timing perspective, some of the points that were made were absolutely right. By law, we are required to provide public notice of at least 72 hours when we're going to consider a matter. In this case, there was a technical error made on the way we posted the agenda. We did not discuss the matter at all because we were not allowed under the law to do that. Again, I mentioned earlier, the sooner we can act on this will be 72 hours, which would take us to Friday. Some of us are not going to be here Friday, so that is the next day available that we're all together will be on Monday. So there's a sense of urgency for all of us to get this done as well.
Right. If I may ask, am I safe to assume that part of what you were going to discuss is who was going to be providing that legal opinion?
Yes.
And so at this point, you haven't even discussed names, correct?
Correct.
So there's no way that you can even know how long that will take, how long the legal opinion will take to be rendered, to be reviewed so that you can actually have a report that you can take action on. And that's my concern is this has been kicked down the road so many times and so often because it's never appeared on the agenda so that you can take action in open session. And I would like to at least challenge you as board members to do that, to at least put this on the agenda so that this can be taken, or action can be taken in public view.
Well, I don't know how long it's going to take. I think there's a sense of urgency from all of us, and so the timeline to get a response back will be as soon as possible. Now, good lawyers are not just waiting for a case to drop into their lap. Yeah. They have other cases, so from my perspective, it's going to take, I don't know, I'm guessing at least 4 weeks. That's my guess only. So. That's my guess. I don't know.
So see, that's what we're concerned with because by that time the clinic will have been open.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
It might not be a good idea to speculate.
Yes, that's true.
We don't have the timeline, and so
correct. That's absolutely correct.
It could be misleading to put a time frame on it.
That's absolutely correct. So I'll come back. I'll come back to that. My plan, this is just me speaking because again the council has not spoken on this, is that we are going to develop a full scope of what we want to, what questions we want answered. And Ms. Becker, please stop me if at any time if I feel that I'm exposing too much. I'm hoping that we develop a full scope of what we want. Every council member is going to have an opportunity to provide questions that they want answered because we all may have different kinds of questions because we needed the full scope of what's happening here, the legality of that. Most of the time when you hear reports come out of the council, they typically say direction given to staff, and that's pretty generic. And there's reasons why councils would do that. My goal is that as best as we can, without breaking any legal or confidentiality issues, that as best as we can, that we come back and be as open as we can and provide you as much information as we can that we may have received from this legal opinion. Because I think it's important for the community to know what we know.
Sure, and I
best
understand we are not lawyers, and we're here trying to do the best we can. But I hope that you'll at least take into consideration what we have presented as possible avenues that the council can take in order to take action over the hospital.
I'll get you in a minute. Let me get you in a minute, please.
He'll let you get in.
Okay, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask our city attorney, there was a lot of opinions made as it relates to the hospital board and the potential violation of the Brown Act as it was mentioned, and a lot of points were made. Ms. Becker, not having advance notice of this, are you able right now to address any of the issues that were presented by Mr. Harris?
We're still researching.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
I can't address the public records response.
Okay, please. Address as much as you can.
The public records request was addressed to both the city and the hospital. The only document that the city had in its possession that was requested was the transfer agreement, which is why that's the only document the city produced. The hospital produced a packet of, I believe, over 140 pages of documents.
Who was
We just haven't received that then yet, apparently, because we only got one email from the city, and that was with the transfer agreement, and none of the rest we've received yet. And the deadline for that was Friday the 13th, this last Friday, so that's why we spoke to that.
They were
So
mailed to the requesters, and the requesters are your 3 attorneys.
Okay, so they
So
should
your
have, they
attorneys,
should
your
be in receipt
attorneys
of
have
those.
the documents.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Mr. Cullis?
I just had one question. Could we at least get a commitment from the city council that the abortions would not begin until you had a legal opinion, at least? Because it just sounds to me that that it's going to drag out and drag out and drag out, and they're going to open and start performing abortions before you have your legal opinion. So with the turnout in the community, it'd be awesome if we can at least get a commitment that that wouldn't move forward until you had legal advice.
I don't even know how we would do that legally. Ms. Becker, we don't have that ability to do that today.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
If I may go back to the Brown Act, I heard quite a groan when I said we were still researching. We have done thorough research. We do not believe there are any Brown Act violations. However, we're looking at individually each of the allegations that were brought up in the letter dated yesterday.
Could you also address the issues with regard to contracting and whether or not it has to have a seal, a stamp, and...
That is a part of the hospital bylaws, that's where we found that.
Right. But sometimes as you're looking at those city codes, the stacks upon stacks upon stacks, you have this that refers over to this.
And you go cross-eyed.
Perhaps
I've been
there's an
there.
exception for that, and...
Sure, absolutely.
So,
I have not seen that provision in the bylaws, no.
but that'll be included in the evaluation and examination?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think it's safe to say that this matter, as it relates to the claim of Brown Act violation, will be addressed by the hospital board at their next meeting. It would appear to me.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Sanders?
thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. As you may recall, there was quite a discussion presented by Mr. Nunn as it relates to the ordinances. As you well know, when we make an amendment to an ordinance or either modify the ordinance, there's a time delay. Usually it's 45 days unless it's an emergency ordinance. So I wanted to make sure that the members of the audience understood that. Also, I appreciate Mr. Harris coming forward, giving us lesson in Civics 101, and if you don't mind me using that term, sir. But I also want to add another component to that, and that's the Bill of Rights, which was filed after the Constitution itself. So those Bill of Rights certainly is something that needs to be incorporated as we look at the Constitution as it relates in its broadest sense as to how governing bodies are going to use the Constitution as a tool or as the mechanism and guidance for certain decisions that's going to be made. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, are there more people? Mr. Mayor, do you have more people to speak, or?
Yeah, no, actually, what my intention, thank you, Ms. Sanders, for that. My intention is to proceed with the meeting as we have scheduled.
Okay.
And then we will have our regular public comments at the end of the agenda, which hopefully won't be too late.
I guess the chamber still is going to speak too, right?
Yes.
I got your back.
Because after this speaker, I was thinking if we could have recess for public privilege.
Sure, of course. Okay, thank you.
Personal
I would appreciate that as well.
Were you done with your comments, Ms. Sanders?
Yes, I just wanted to give that information as it relates to the ordinances and the timelines for those amendments and how those are changed, and also to piggyback up on Mr. Harris's comments as it relates to the Constitution, and that the Bill of Rights follow right behind that.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Mr. Jackson, anything?
I'll defer. I'll let
Ms. Walker.
This is a struggle for all of us. And I think that we would all agree that in a perfect world, there are a lot of agencies that we would not need. We would not need agencies that address homeless issues. We would not have We would not need the services of the food bank. We would not need to be looking after victims of domestic violence, and we would certainly not need the services of Planned Parenthood. But we don't live in a perfect world. And so what this council is struggling with is the very real dynamic where we have each taken a constitutional, an oath to uphold the Constitution. Legally, under the current framework in this country, a woman's right to choose to terminate a pregnancy is a constitutional right. I'm not endorsing that. I'm just stating it as fact. It would be overwhelmingly easy for us to make a decision if we saw this kind of outpouring asking us to make a decision that we had some discretion over. For example, if we wanted to site a park at Ross and Lotus, and we had 4,000 people telling us, don't put it there, we want it over in another location. That's a no-brainer. But when we're faced with a constitutional issue that says a woman has a right to choose, and yet wanting to be responsive to our community, how do we fashion that solution?
May I?
Wait,
okay, I thought you were asking.
No.
You said how, so
I'm just because here's the reality as it plays out in my mind. Planned Parenthood has the absolute legal right under our ordinances to open up where they are seeking to open up their center. Termination of pregnancy is a guaranteed right to women. If the city of El Centro, if the hospital steps in to negate that transfer agreement, how I see this playing out in my brain, Planned Parenthood sues the city of El Centro, Planned Parenthood sues the hospital. Under that scenario, at the end of the day, because a woman's right to choose is still a constitutionally protected right, we lose. So not only does Planned Parenthood get what they want, which is that transfer agreement, we've also then put our entire community at risk to pay for their attorney's fees, costs, and damages. For what? What I would rather see, and what I'm encouraged to hear, is how do we come together to ensure that women, young women, girls, who are going to that center, before they get there, understand that there are other options and that there's a community of support out there waiting for them. How do we do that? How do we focus on that to make that happen?
May I? Yeah. I'm sorry. Do you have more, Ms. Walker?
No, go ahead.
I can hold my thought. No, please.
No, go.
Okay. So in regards to that, and I understand your concern there, and I understand that we're not the Supreme Court and we're not trying Roe versus Wade all over again. But it is written within the California Health and Safety Codes that it is the discretion of the hospital to deny the transfer agreement as long as the reasons are not discriminatory. As long as there's been due diligence done and there can be verifiable facts of what it will cost and the impacts financially and medically to the community. And so I'm not saying that we deny the transfer agreement based upon the fact that we don't believe in abortion. I'm saying that we need to do our due diligence to make sure that the fiduciary responsibilities of the hospital board and this council are looking out for the best interests of the community, and that this isn't going to cost the city more than we are able to handle. And I don't think that those reports have yet been done. And then secondly, in regards to denying a woman their constitutional right, it is not my opinion that in denying this transfer agreement, we would deny a woman their constitutional right to an abortion. They can drive to Coachella and they can have an abortion. They can drive to San Diego and they can have an abortion. And so we're not saying that you cannot have an abortion. We're saying that the financial risk and the medical risk is too great for us to allow it to happen here. That's where we would differ.
I think that one of the things that we're doing is we want to make sure that there's an exchange of information that's accurate. I feel like we need to do a lot of back and forth myth busting here for a minute. I think that with regard to the transfer agreement and the ability for them to seek a waiver, for any medical specialty to seek a waiver, is kind of confined to those situations where the hospital cannot otherwise support the service provided within the medical office. So for example, if we have a group of cardiologists that are doing particular procedures, that if a patient were to come into difficulty, the hospital is not set up either with equipment or specialists or anyone else to take those patients. So in that situation, the hospital has an absolute right to deny. But I think
The
that there
hospital
has
transfer those out, Ms. Walker.
Right,
We transfer those patients out either
that the
via the
hospital has to
helicopter.
have a legitimate reason to deny, and the hospital cannot be forced then to add that equipment, those specialists, the services to support that.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with
But
what you're saying.
in this situation, again, I'm not a lawyer nor am I a doctor, but in this situation, again, I think that the hospital has.
So here's my understanding when I read the law. And do you have a copy of the law by chance on you? I didn't bring that because that was like something that we kind of
Which
gave
law
like
are you
a couple.
referencing, Mr.
The California Health and Safety Code in regards to transfer agreements, because it doesn't actually state that the reason why you would deny an agreement would be because you don't have the ability to meet the need. It says in the event that an agreement is denied, then a waiver can be placed with the state. So it doesn't actually say that. That's maybe an interpretation of that law, but it doesn't actually clearly state that in the law.
And from my perspective, that's the reason why we're looking to get an independent legal opinion, because there's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Absolutely.
And we have to do this cautiously. We have to make sure that we stay within the legality and liability to the city. This could potentially create a huge liability issue, and from my perspective only, if it's defensible, that means more to me than if it's indefensible. So that's the purpose of the legal opinion that we're trying to get. And Ms. Sanders corrected me, and she's absolutely right. At this point in time, I don't know how long it's going to take. That was just a speculation on my part that perhaps I shouldn't have said it, but you do have our guarantee that it'll be done as soon as possible. So, Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I think we've all struggled with this, and we've all had issues. I mean, some of us have had hate mail and hate phone calls, and tough to be part of our own community right now. So it's been a tough deal, but I think that the commitment from this council is that we will expedite as quickly as possible what we're trying to do. I think that we were all on board with the feeling that we wanted a independent set of eyes on this. I think we are struggling. We're looking for some guidance that maybe, I think there's a perception in the community that some of the opinions are tainted or biased. I think we're trying to alleviate that concern to the community by bringing in a third party that really has, quote unquote, no skin in the game as far as working either for us or on contract by us. And although today was an unfortunate situation regarding our posting, it would have been nice to have come in front of you today and said that we had selected somebody and that we had some kind of a time frame. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and I think that we've all taken time out of our schedules to make this happen as quickly as possible, which is Monday. And I think the mayor had spoken earlier about doing something as far as maybe a press release. We want to be as transparent as possible, understanding that we're not going to have the opportunity to have a closed session report to the public via a council meeting right after Monday. I think maybe something in the way of a press release or something to get that word out. I don't think it's the desire of anybody up here to not be forthright with our constituents and our public. And I think that if we can get a time frame, we will expedite as fast as possible. I know that there is a timeline that is very important to you and to your constituents as far as when the clinic will open and when they will start providing services. Unfortunately, right now, the way we are, our hands are tied, but we are looking at it. And I think that what I would like you as a public to understand is that we are trying to take action. We are trying to be responsive to you coming to us and talking to us about this issue. We're not putting our head in the sand, and we're certainly not hiding from the issue. We are doing what we think that we can do legally to come up with some kind of an opinion that may or may not be in your favor, but we are searching for that.
Mr. Cardenas?
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Nana, I do want to commend you on the effort on the Coalition of Life. It's a pretty incredible organization in terms of the organization and everything that you've done. And I also appreciate the professionalism on your part in coming before us and helping us with some legal research. So that does deserve a lot of credit. You know, my position has always been that, you know, I want to make sure from a financial and a risk management standpoint that we are exploring all our possibilities. I mean, personally, I do have some heartburn with the fact of a one-page transfer agreement, and that's all somebody has to sign, and then we're in business. I mean, I have some heartburn over that. I think it's an opportunity that we can look at it holistically and review how we handle transfer agreements in the future. You know, I strongly believe that the team that we have here is savvy enough. This has weighed very, very heavy on all of our hearts. And I want to share this on the part of our mayor. Our mayor has done a great job. He's been very gracious in extending and affording both sides of the folks to share their opinions. And so I am grateful for our mayor's leadership. And I'm asking that you afford us the opportunity to turn every stone to make sure that we are doing the right thing in terms of decisions. And the last thing we want to do maybe is make more or engage in reckless decisions that can lead to other difficult situations. But I do appreciate our mayor. I do appreciate this council. But
as do I, and I think as do most of us.
Yeah, and I would just ask that you would afford us. You know, we did have a major issue today with the agenda. We've even expedited and said, hey, we're willing to meet on Monday at 11 o'clock to try to hash this issue out. Our mayor has shared with me that the timeline is absolutely critical. And so I'm committed and I want to support his leadership. But at the same time, I do want to recognize your guys' efforts. We are hearing you loud and clear, and we're just grateful for everything that you have shared and has helped us and come on the side of us to say, hey, have you explored these opportunities? But I'm asking you just afford us the opportunity to look at this holistically and allow us to come back with the information so that everything's above board.
As I said before, we are doing our best to do what we can as members of this community to meet the needs of these young women who will be considering abortive services. And we truly, honestly want to be able to partner with our city council in finding a way to keep this from preying on our young women, for keeping abortion preying on our young women. So whatever we can do together, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Nan. Okay. Should we do the chamber, Ms. Or?
Yeah, we'll do the chamber.
Oh, yes. You know what, Ms. Ellett, can we, Ms. Ellett, is she here? We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Well, you want to do her in the
Yeah,
chamber and then take the break?
Let's take a 5-minute break and come back in 10.
Okay.
I like that.
We're just waiting for Ms. Sanders to return. She will be here in a minute.
I'm retrieving candy for
Yes.
the mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Okay.
You bought into that?
I had asked
Didn't
her.
expect that,
I
did
had
you?
asked her. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go ahead and continue with scheduled public comments and Ms. Deborah Ellett with Real Hope Center. Ms. Ellett.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm kind of excited because I get to make you happier by the rest of my presentation.
Perfect.
I'm excited from the things you said because we do have answers to some of your concerns. And actually, I want to apologize because a lot of us have been in the pro-life movement for maybe over 20 years and haven't even told you about it. So I apologize about that. You could have been sleeping better for a long time if we just told you more about the different ministries that are available and that are very active. I'm going to start with Real Hope Center. Currently, it's a pregnancy resource center. I am the director. And as you notice, it's right there on Main Street, 548 Main Street, just a few blocks from here. And you've probably never even seen it.
I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it. And maybe don't know anything about it. So it's past Union Bank. So let me explain a little bit what we do. Our purpose is to take care of mothers, young fathers, and it's a learn to earn program. Whoever comes to our office spends 30 minutes learning something, and they get to choose what they learn. They can learn about the baby development if she's pregnant. They can learn about parenting skills if they're already parents. And a lot of our girls are high school girls or college girls, and we work on their homework with them. Our goal is to help them succeed in life. And graduating from high school is our first priority with many of them. So they can earn their hope dollar, is what we call it, by spending 30 minutes with us. And then job applications, resumes, whatever they need to work on, we're happy to spend time with them. So after their 30 minutes, they earn a hope dollar, and these are the things they can buy. With one hope dollar, they can buy 20 diapers, they can buy 3 sets of baby clothes, or they can save up their whole dollar, their hope dollar, till we can buy the car seat that they need or that they want. Maternity clothes, again, one hope dollar can buy them 3 sets of maternity clothes. Cell phones. Now, you may wonder, wow, what kind of privilege is that? Well, to tell you the truth, our girls don't have cars. They walk. I need to call them. I need to find out if they've gotten a ride to their doctor's appointment. Are they coming to school today? I have to text some of my girls to remind them to come, to make sure they come. So we found that cell phones, them earning their cell phones, has been a very important prize or earning for them because we can keep track of them. They can call the doctor and ask them what time is their appointment. They can call WIC and say, I forgot when my appointment was. Can you remind me? So it's become a very important part of our program is cell phones, and they earn those. Sometimes they need a license fees. Well, we'll show you that in a minute. But the cell phones, the newest thing we've added is paying for their taxi cabs because we're not always available. There's only a few of us that are volunteers, and they need to make those doctor's appointments. They need to make their WIC appointments. They might even need a ride to school so they're not late. So now we're paying the $5 taxi cab and for them to be able to get to the important things that they need because they don't have cars, but they are trying to be responsible. So it's just some of the things that we find they need, that's what they can earn. And anytime you want to ask me questions, feel free because I know what I'm talking about, but it might not be clear to you, so please go ahead.
Question. So what's the source of funding that allows you to do that? First of all, let me say that's incredible. I did not know that we had that service.
And I appreciate
in El
that.
Centro, and it's gratifying to know that.
Private funds,
Private funds?
several churches, several individuals, and we apply for the Woven Grant every year.
So are you a 501c3?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Doves Grant, I'm so sorry, I just said Woven because I was thinking of something. The Doves Grant is for organizations helping women and children, so we always apply for the Doves Grant, which helps us buy our diapers.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Thank you. This is last year's statistics. We had 10 babies born to our group that we know of, because sometimes a girl will come and maybe not come back, but 10 babies that were born. That means we've given them a layette, all the things they need to start with the baby to bring them home from the hospital. 460 sets of 20 diapers. Okay, so that means 460 visits to our office to earn 20 diapers. And it's an interesting thing, but with their cash aid, see, they can't get diapers any other way.
Right.
it's a desperate need, diapers. So we really appreciate the opportunity to serve them in that way, but also to help their life advance by whatever program they're choosing. Sometimes we'll just sit and talk with them. You know, what's going on? How are things at home? Do you have a place to live? Oh, you don't have a place to live next week? Well, we need to work on that too. 112 sets of baby clothes, 54 larger items, which would include car seats, strollers, toys. So in general, over 50 different families served. I say that because a lot of our girls come every week. They're regularly there every week. And then some people may come once. She may come for a pregnancy test, and then we talk to her about things. She may not come back. We have men coming too. We really like helping the fathers because, as we all know, it's a huge piece missing in our society. We love working with our young men, helping them with parenting skills, helping them graduate from high school. It's a huge responsibility they have ahead, but we're there to help them. We really enjoy that too. 3 abortion recovery weekends. It's another arm of the ministry, and it's really where we've learned most of our information. Everything I'm sharing with you tonight is true stories. It's not my opinion. It's real-life people that I've met. And in the recovery weekends, it's women that have had abortions in their past and have realized that they really are suffering, and I'll go a little bit more into that later. Out of those weekends, we found out that many women have an abortion after the second or the third child. It's not just the first one. That's why we do the Learn and Earn program. We want her to know that if she gets pregnant again, we're going to be there for her. She will not need an abortion. And she'll see it. She knows. We're giving her the diapers. We're helping her find a place to live. We're helping her put food on our table. She knows that when she gets pregnant the next time, she's not going to need an abortion because we're going to be there for her.
Wonderful.
Before we go on, I just wanted to point out that, 460 sets of 20 is over 9,000 diapers that we give away.
That's wonderful.
That's a lot of, well,
A lot of babies. That's a lot of changes for babies.
includes wipers.
And they are very expensive.
And wipers, okay.
It's very expensive in case, really, a Hope Dollar really has a value of $4. So, a lot of people can't afford that. So $4 worth of diapers goes a long way for them.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, if they need more, we always give them more if they need more. Because sometimes, when the baby's just born, they may need a few more. So we're more generous than it may look. But that's how we set the standards so they know how much they can earn. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, we just wanted to show you a couple of the stories from the last year, just to show you some of the things we've had the privilege of being a part of. This is a young couple, had their young baby, and so we were privileged to pay for their marriage license and go with them to the county offices and allow them to get married. Also, they needed a home to live, so we had housing for them for several months till they were get on their feet. Really, really proud of this opportunity. Again, licenses, $82, $86. People don't have it. Do you realize some of our young people don't get married because they can't afford it? Yes. It's just true. Mm-hmm. So we want to help them with those things too.
Wonderful.
These are two young women. Actually, the one, Anna was here with her two girls, but they were getting a little bit tired, so they didn't stay. They would have liked to meet you also. We've had the privilege of being with her for 4 years. She had her first baby when she was 13. Just graduated from Centro High School last year. We are so proud of her. She's continuing at IVC, takes the girls out to childcare. Carla, the other girl, graduated from Sciatech. She's working on taking the CNA program. We're still with them. Our goal is to see their girls graduate from high school. We're not leaving them. It's their families. They need hope and they need help. And our goal is to stay with them. I just left and Carla was there today trying to get records and apply for jobs. So our girls are our family and we care about them and we love them. And they know that and they can stay with us as long as they want. Next one. This is the family where Anna, with her two girls, has been welcomed. She needed a home, so thanks to the Ashbrooks, she's been living with them for years now, so she could complete high school and so she could go to college. And I guarantee you, in this community of those of us who are here tonight and have been, there's not one girl that couldn't get a home open to her if she needed it. I would guarantee you right now that people in here would open their home, take her in, and help her through anything that she has. Matter of fact, I'd like everybody in here who has been a part of foster or adoption just to raise their hands. And you're going to be amazed. These people don't just say they're pro-life, they live pro-life. Adoption, foster care, taking a young girl and her children into their home. We're doing it. And we're never going to stop doing it. So you need to rest assured, whatever the need is, we're here. We've been practicing it. We may grow in it, but we're here for you, and we're here for them. We really are.
You see the little girl in the pink here looking at this guy right here? Mr. Kelly. She knows him as Tata.
Wow.
That's her grandfather now. That's how she knows him.
Abortion recovery. I wish I could tell you it wasn't necessary, but we need you to know abortion does hurt women, children, husbands, grandparents. There's research that siblings know that they're missing someone. It's amazing research on what abortions do to a whole family. Sometimes a youth may be having a crying fit, just not knowing, weeping, not knowing anything. Why? And they're finding out that that mom had an abortion and that child is missing their brother or their sister. And there's research on all these things. Grandparents, it affects a lot of people. So what I've learned, and the flyer I gave you, this was written by women here in Imperial Valley that have gone through recovery weekends with us. The first is, well, some of the things, they wrote this brochure so people could know what they have been through. Guilt, eating disorders, outbursts of anger, shame, unworthiness, drug and alcohol abuse, unhealthy, abusive relationships, depression, helplessness, hopelessness. That's how they felt. But after a weekend of looking at the Bible and looking at God's forgiveness, they're able to accept that God forgives them. But the hardest is that they can forgive themselves because they live with it the rest of their life. And you've heard some testimonies, and I really appreciate that you've allowed some of these women to share with you, because I know if you're like me, I had no idea the pain abortion caused women. Why? Because no one ever talks about it. And I really thank these women for sharing their stories in public, because the rest of us aren't standing up here telling other people the things we've done wrong in our lives, and yet they've been willing to break their silence and tell you how much it hurt them, how much they suffered, all the things that they went through in their lives because of the shame they felt in their abortion. So we're thankful to tell you that women who do have abortion can recover and accept God's healing. And we work with men too. Men suffer from watching their girlfriends, their wives, having had an abortion or going against their will, or some, as they would get saved later, think the men will say, I paid for my girlfriend to abort my child, and God made me the protector. That doesn't set right with me. And so we worked with men the same exact issues of guilt and shame and wishing they had never done that. So it affects more people than we ever would have understood. And a lot of people don't come to terms with it till many years later. We've worked with women that had their abortions 40 years ago and have never told anyone. I don't blame them, because it's not an acceptable thing. She feels ashamed that she no longer has a child that she might have had. Instead of 3, she might have had 4. Instead of 3 girls, she might have had 3 girls and a boy. So it's a lot of things that they go through. I would just encourage us all to be sensitive, and I hope you see that we're pro-life, meaning we don't want anybody hurt. We don't want these moms and dads to suffer anymore either, so we offer them help also. Just another arm of what Real Hope does. Both sides of the issue. We want to make sure everyone is taken care of. This is an event we've had now for 3 years, and I don't know if any of you have seen it, but we've had it here in Buckland Park. Why? For 2 real reasons. We want people to know that 3,000 babies every day lose their life to abortion. That represents 3,000 moms, 3,000 dads, 3,000 grandpas and grandpas and a lot of siblings. And we want people to be aware of that issue and be praying for these parents who've lost their children so that they would feel hope and no longer feel like they need to live in the shame that they have. So it's an awareness. And I'm sure if I asked anybody here, did you realize that there was 300 abortions every day in the United States, 3,000 every day in the United States? Most of us would think absolutely not. Well, since it's been legal, 52 million babies have lost their life to abortion. For every 3 people that are here, there's 1 person missing. Out of 4 pregnancies, 1 baby has been aborted for the last 40 years. That's a lot of famous people. That's a lot of people that could have been a help to us. It's educational. Part of it is our goal is to educate, right? Power is knowledge. Knowledge is power. So we want people to understand. We're for those people. We want to help those people. So this is an educational night and an opportunity for healing, too. We have people write on the bags. And so it's a healing. A lot of the women or men actually put names of their babies on the bags. And then we put them all out there, and people can walk through and pray and have a healing time by just by being there. We're just one resource. These are just a few other resources we'd like to mention. Birth Choice, we were Birth Choice for many, many years. We just expanded to Real Hope. Birth Choice is the same, pregnancy tests, helping young women. We just wanted to do more with helping our girls with the things that they needed and going on to school and helping with their young families. You've heard from Ameris Ministries, adoption, foster care, resources and training. Woven, Women of Virtue Empowerment Network. They have parenting classes. Our girls can go there. Parenting classes, anger management. If they're court ordered, they can take classes here in El Centro and in Brawley. Just one of the resources, and I know there's more. We just tried to mention the few that we're working with specifically. And another set of resources, rehabilitation and life skill training, would be, of course, New Creations, Men's and Women's Home, Turning Point, Ivy Ministries, Victory Outreach, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with those, but all of us work together. Someone needs help, someone has a need, we try to reach out, all of us together. So we do have a network. We are there for you. I really like you to think seriously. We are giving our girls a choice. Going to get an abortion when all they do is ask you, do you have the money? Do you have what it costs? That's not a choice. We don't want our girls to have the opportunity to have a bad day. And for me, go over the back fence from our school to the abortion clinic and lose a child that they're going to forever regret. We're just asking that you let us keep taking care of our girls. I promise you we will. There's not going to be anybody that won't be taken care of. A home, a house, food, clothes, it's done. We're doing it, and we want to do more. Just let us keep doing it. We'd really appreciate that you're letting us talk, but sorry about not educating you sooner. But there are a lot of good things going on in El Centro, and we know you know that. Now we're just adding to your list of wonderful things that are happening in El Centro.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Any more questions?
Any questions from the council?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that I was going to have Mr. Smith, the president of the El Centro Chamber, come up during scheduled public comments. And Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and other council members. It's nice to be back here this evening. Missed my regularly scheduled time 2 weeks ago. The Chamber of Commerce has been quite busy. In February, we had the Air Show Gala, and I'm pleased to say that we raised enough money to once again this year make a $7,500 donation to NAFL Centro as a community donation to help sponsor this year's air show, which was a very successful event last weekend. Our Regional Governmental Affairs Committee is comprised of the Brawley Chamber and the El Centro Chamber. And today and tomorrow, the IID and the Board of Supervisors are meeting with the State Water Resources Board in Sacramento. The IID has filed a petition to have really some real emphasis placed on helping with the state's commitment to the problem of what needs to be done for the mitigation and restoration of the Salton Sea. And so the Governmental Affairs Committee from the two chambers got together and wrote a very candid letter to the State Water Resource Board asking for the community's support of looking at the IID's petition that they filed. So hopefully there'll be some good come from that. A week ago, I had the privilege of taking a tour of Mexicali. Unfortunately, Mr. Cardenas was unable to go because of an upcoming trip to Washington, D.C., but I was able to take two directors from the chamber with me, Jeff Sturdivant and Fernando Zavala. And we had a great day down there. The medical tourism people, as well as the regular tourism people, coordinated this tour for us. And we toured two of the private hospitals down there. And we were overwhelmed with, I mean, it's hard to put into words how well they serve their people's needs down there. And are expanding and growing dramatically, virtually on a daily basis. We had a tour of the baseball stadium, the professional baseball stadium, and that was a very interesting thing to see down there as well. And the manager of the stadium has shared with us that she would be setting aside blocks of tickets for the El Centro community to attend the professional baseball games starting in October next fall, and that they would even coordinate with bus contractors to take people down and bring them back. So that's a great step in forming our relationship that you, Mr. Silva, have been working so hard as well on. We also toured a plant called Skyworks, and they make the microchips for everyone's cell phones and iPads and iPods, laptops. They make a mere 11 million pieces a day in that facility in Mexicali. They currently have 45% of the world market and are projecting that by the year, that in 5 years, they'll be producing 1.2 billion pieces per quarter.
Wow.
They have 350,000 square feet of manufacturing today, and they're building an additional 186 as we speak.
Wow.
So it was really encouraging to hear them talk about that they're bringing a lot of the jobs from China and Vietnam and Korea back to North America, and it's great that we have them right here in our neighborhood, many of them. So it's a very encouraging trip. Along with that, we shared with them that our desire is to put together and provide a nice tour of the Imperial Valley for them so that we could get them north of the mall to see the rest of El Centro.
Exactly.
Nothing against the mall, but I think many of the people that come to the Imperial Valley and particularly to El Centro from the Mexicali marketplace are not seeing the true everything that's available in downtown El Centro for shopping and all the other restaurants. So they were quite excited to start that learning process too. So it was a very, very good tour. And then I'll just close by saying that, and we'll be back to talk to you some more later this evening, but we have got the SCORE International Imperial Valley 250 off-road race scheduled for September. Everything's coming along quite nicely, so.
Well, I know it's on our consent agenda, and are you going to pull? Okay, so it's going to be pulled, so we get a chance to speak about it, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
But Les, thank you very much for that. And thank you for your leadership with the chamber, and particularly in building that relationship with our Mexicali counterparts. You know, I've said it before, our economies are interrelated. And when Mexicali does well, Imperial Valley does well, and vice versa. So
yes,
thank you for taking the leadership role that you have taken with the chamber for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the chamber?
No questions.
I think you left out the best part. Where did you guys end up going to lunch?
Oh yeah, we did. I can't remember. Jeff, do you remember the name of that restaurant?
Baja Grill.
Baja Grill.
All right.
And it's a new seafood restaurant that opened back in November, and it is an awesome place to eat.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. We'll see you back in a minute. Okay, next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may pull consent items to be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. So I hear that there's a request to pull item 10. Any other items that wish to be pulled by the council or the members of the public? If none, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items 6 through 9 and 11 and 12, please. So it's been moved by Cardenas and second by Walker. Please ballot. Item passes 5-0. Item 10, Mrs. Walker?
I was just hoping that we could pull it so that we could publicize it just a little bit more. Would this come under Jeff or, I don't know, Marcelo, are you going to be staff person assigned or, no? Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Last April, we had what we feel was a very successful event of the Ivy Score 250, and you guys were gracious enough to partner with us and help us pull that off with a financial contribution to help do so. It was very well attended, even though the weather was not very good. We had about as many as we could handle for our first event. The mall was full Thursday night and Friday. We were completely packed out on the desert on Saturday, even though the winds were blowing 130 miles an hour or whatever it was. And we did what they felt was a good enough job. We actually had a second race last year, and that went off well. And so this year, although we only have one race, it will be in September. It is the second annual Imperial Valley Score 250. And we are here today to ask you for your support in that. It will be September 24th through the 27th. Contingency and preliminary events will be held at the El Centro Mall, and the race will be both on public and private land as stated before.
Okay. No, as before.
Yes, ma'am. It's going to change a little bit, but it's the same. It's the same land.
So Jeff, did you mention that the spring race that was not going to, it's not going to be held anymore?
Well, at least for this year. Roger Norman, the president of SCORE International, had a commitment to Baja Sur to run a race down there in April. It is one that he couldn't get out of. They're going to run it this year and see how it goes. So it would be our intentions or our hopes that the following year that we may be fortunate enough to have 2 more races here in the valley. But as it stands this year, we will only have the one, and it will be as the original, the first race, the 250-mile race.
Understanding that the weather unfortunately did not cooperate that day and it's very windy, did anybody get a sense of out-of-town visitors that came to El Centro and Imperial Valley?
I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around. I do know that the hotels were very full. The mall and other restaurants and stuff were very, very full and did a lot of business that weekend. I will tell you from driving around out along Evan Hughes and in the spectator area at Coin Power Sports Motorplex, it was completely packed, and I am in no way able to give you an exact count, but there were a lot of people. It drew from not only locally from Mexicali, Arizona, Phoenix, Los Angeles, San Diego. It's a very easy location to get down to and to enjoy the race.
Wonderful. Questions from the council?
Pretty excited about the event.
There, us too.
I guess my question is, how is your fundraising or support being handled? I mean, in terms of additional requests for support, either from public agencies or from the private sector? Because, I mean, we had this discussion last time, right? That this isn't going to because of the sales tax dollars or TOT, it's never going to be a payback to the city of El Centro for the money that we use in sponsorship.
We are fundraising both privately and publicly. There are avenues that we do with other public entities that we're able to draw funds for that are used for specific portions of the event and have to be as such. We are able to raise a good amount of funds from private sponsors, and it's been pretty easy this time around. It's starting out pretty easy because they did see the significance of the last race.
And I think that there's some tangible benefits, i.e. Sales tax revenue, restaurants doing better, businesses doing better. But there's also some intangibles that benefit, because the race was on TV at CBS Sports Channel or
CBS Sports Network, and one thing that last year they started out with this, and it was a half hour airing, and it covered pretty much just the trophy trucks, which are the big boys anyway. But I watched the one earlier today before coming here, and they're doing an hour this year and promoting it even more. And I think they did a good job too of representing the city and the valley while they were here, and it is very good exposure. Getting in early enough to get your city logo out on our website and on SCORE's website early for all the way up and through September is one of the reasons why we're coming now, to make sure that you get as much exposure as possible.
The other thing I'd like to add too is that the Mexicali tourism folks have graciously offered to promote this race throughout the entire state of Baja.
Wonderful.
Well, I think that, and
free of charge.
This was partially addressed earlier, I think, with regard to, so that we can properly budget for these items. If we can get a timeline or an expectation as to when future races are coming up and when sponsorship dollars will be requested from the city of El Centro, because I'm assuming that we're going to be starting to build our budget for next year very, very soon. So the sooner we can get that information, the better.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Plus, you get some very nice shirts, too.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's
right.
Any additional questions
sorry.
from the council?
I already moved approval.
Okay. So it's been moved. Any additional questions before we vote? No?
Sorry.
Go ahead and move by Walker, second by Jackson, please ballot. Item passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all the support.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Okay.